Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. We are discussing the role of individual directors. Previously, we have discussed the board of directors, its independence, the type of directors. In type of the directors, we have discussed executive and non-executive director. Then in non-executive director, we have discussed representative non-executive director and independent non-executive director. And then we have discussed independent non-executive director, and then de facto director and shadow director, and finally we have discussed alternate directors. So now we are going to discuss the role of independent non-executive director in details. So let's start with INEDs. They do not represent any particular stakeholders but the entire company. As we previously discussed, that non-executive directors are those directors who don't participate in the business of a company, into the day-to-day activities of a company, but just they come and participate in their board meetings. They will give their expert opinion and they will supervise executive directors in meetings specifically. So here is the independent non-executive director. But non-executive directors are expected to be not part of daily basis businesses of a company, but they may represent some stakeholders. Say for example, a non-executive director is maybe representing the creditor, a bank, an institutional shareholder, a company, a government. So non-executive director can be representative, but independent non-executive director do not take instruction from anyone. They just follow what is in the best interest of the company and what is in the best interest of the all stakeholders of the company, including society. So they have knowledge and professional competent. They are professionally competent. They know everything. They not participate in the management, take their work as independent non-executive director seriously. So they create a balance of power on the board. If they are in the board, they don't let any executive director to 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 be so strong to take any decision on their own. So they create balance by not letting the executive director to take the lead. They bring a balance. If executive director is saying something, non-executive director or independent non-executive director will argue, and if it is in the best interest of the company, they will let it go and they will pass it. Otherwise they will go into a detailed discussion. So serve on the board committees because they are competent and they can participate in other committees, and uh, it will help the company to bring competent people, independent non-executive director, into committees of the board. Bring discipline to the board because they are the disciplined people and they of course bring discipline to the board. So here is the test of independence is such as the lack of conflict of interest. There should be no conflict of interest because appointed different from manager, because one who is appointing the independent director should be different from the manager. Procedures leaving little room for dominance by a strong manager. Applied to NEDs, non-executive director, it means no director realities influence. So undermined by formalities. So preserving the independence of independent non-executive director is very important and very important topic, that they should remain independent. If they will not remain independent, there is no rule, there is no need of independent director to be in a company. So independence is a state of mind. Law cannot create it. If a person is not willing to be independent, no one can make it independent. A person himself or herself have to be independent, have to this characteristics in herself or himself. So if not independent, no real use to company. Guidelines for ensuring independence. So there are some guidelines which we are going to discuss, which will help to make sure the independence of the director. For instance, director related should not be related to the directors or major shareholders or related organization. If they have relationships with directors, with major shareholders, with related institutions, either they are in their partner businesses, or they are their uh, raw material provider, or they are supplier. So they are going to have a relationship, and this relationship will be an hurdle between the independent non-executive director and executive directors. So there should be no, it should not be related to the director or major shareholder. They should have no material interest in the company except his fixed remuneration. If they will be having any other interest, so to protect that interest, may they will lose their independence. So they should get only the fixed remuneration, and there should be no further material interest of independent non-executive director to the company. Should not be immediate past employee or paid consultant. Of course, if they are paid consultant, they will take care of their payments, and they will think that if we will take independent decision, may company will not hire us as consultant next time. So they should not be paid consultant, and they should not be the immediate employee who served as a director. Maybe they remain loyal to each other, and he or she want to come back into the company as an independent non-executive director, and would like to pay back to the company in form of being on the same page with the executive director. So it should not be immediate past employee. Should not be the director of any other company connected with this group, as we discussed previously, that not it should not be to the related organization. If he or she will be in a related organization, they are not going to be independent in true spirit. So most important, company should be willing to let an independent non-executive director be independent. Very important point. If a company, their majority shareholder are not willing to have a person to be independent in the company and take the decisions independently, so no one can be independent. So most importantly, company and their majority shareholder should be willing to have the independent director in the company. So question arises that how many independent directors should be in a company? Code of Corporate Governance of Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan says at least one. It's according to the previous code. You are requested to go and find out that how many independent director should be according to the new code. So Combined Code of UK issued in 2003 says that 50% of directors should be non-executive director, and most of non-executive director should be independent. According to the author of the book, it says that not more than one third executive director. There should not be one third, more than one third of executive director. It means at least two thirds should be non-executive director. So chairman should be non-executive director. At least half of non-executive director should be independent non-executive director. It means independent non-executive director should not be less than one third of total. So for instance, if a company have 9 directors, it should have 3 executive director, including CEO, 3 independent non-executive director, and 2 to 3 representative non-executive directors. Further, chairman should be non-executive director, and preferably it should be independent non-executive director. As far as chairman is going to be executive director, of course he or she is going to protect the interest of shareholders. If he or she is a non-executive director, but again representative non-executive director, is going to protect the right of that specific group. And if he or she is an independent non-executive director, then of course the chairman is going to protect the interest of all stakeholders, and that can be a best choice to have an independent non-executive director as a chairman. So see the recent issued code, and let's discuss in next class that what the code says, that how many executive directors should be, how many non-executive directors should be, and how many independent directors should be. So I'm afraid that you are not going to find the type of independent non-executive director. So you need to clear your concept to see in the code that what is the requirement of the code actually. So go and look, and we will discuss in next class, perhaps Thursday or Friday. So, you can comment below this video, or you can contact to the author or to your relevant teacher. So, main role of independent non-executive director is putting good, professionally competent independent non-executive director in the board is same as to putting a very efficient external auditor or judge on the board. So you see that we always hear that judge can take a good decision without any pressure, and external auditor are used to take such good decisions. So their presence bring discipline and carefulness to all the directors, because they are expected to be independent and take decisions on the basis of merit. Improve the quality of decision making process, obviously. Serving on board committees, as we have discussed these points previously. Acting for all stakeholders. So these are the main roles of independent non-executive director. However, there are some criticism on independent non-executive director, that INEDs are simply not competent. They are supposed to be competent, but because they are being elected from the shareholders, being elected in the bringing in the board, they are not as independent non-executive director as we have discussed in these slides in this chapter. So good independent non-executive do not have adequate time for the company. If even if they have hired or they have elected some independent non-executive director, they are not expected to come for more time and to see the everything of the company. Due to lack of remuneration, they do not pay enough attention. Actually, independent non-executive director are expected to be senior professionals, and they demand more remuneration, but companies are paying a fixed amount which is not as per their expectation. So they will not give attention as much as it is required. They give the attention equal to the payment they are receiving from the company, so that is going to be less. It is again impossible that independent non-executive director will not have any relationship with those who vote for them. We were discussed in previous lecture and in question and answer session that these independent non-executive director executives are going to be elected by the shareholders. So who are going to elect non-independent non-executive director? So they are again going to be elected by the shareholders. So it's really difficult that they will be independent and no relation with their voters. So voters are always connected to their representative. A reciprocal arrangement between the companies. It's like one company is going to give their chairman as independent director to the company B, and again the company B is going to give their one or two director to company A as independent director. So they are making reciprocal arrangements, and just to fulfill the rules and code of corporate governance, but they are not independent in true spirit and essence. However, there are selection issues. As we have discussed, all these issues are basically selection issues, not defect of the concept of INEDs. On the base of these discussion, we just can't say that because no one is going to be truly independent non-executive director, so the post of independent non-executive director is useless. No, independent non-executive director is still a very useful position, and only these directors can bring changes into the company. So we need to improve the system. Similarly, in elections, we can't say that election because election process is not pure, not clear. Uh, Democracy is something not to be adopted. So we need to make changes in the system and make it more clear and more uh, useful for the directors. So where to find independent non-executive director? Formal selection procedure similar to executive director. We need to have a system according to which executive director and senior management officials have been selected. If we apply some formal selection procedure, we are going to get some good pool of independent non-executive director. Executive directors, non-executive director are chairman of unrelated companies. So from where we can, as you can see in the title, that where to find the independent non-executive director. Executive director or non-executive director are chairman of unrelated companies which have no relation with your company. In ABC company, you can bring the directors of XYZ company when there is no relationship between ABC and XYZ, so they are going to be competent and can play their role in your company. So retired professional practitioner, CAs, lawyers, consultants, engineers may can bring some input to your company. So retired civil servant, judges, and journals, uh, although it's not a good idea, but again, because they are experienced, you are not going to bring them to run your organization, but you are going to bring them into your organization to make things clear and uh, they will contribute positively by overseeing your company. So socially prominent persons with relevant skills, very important that if you are going to bring socially prominent person, they must have relevant skill and they can bring some input to your company. So use of professionals to find them, you can hire an agency and you can make a committee of professionals who can bring independent non-executive director to your company. So qualities to look for in independent non-executive directors: high level of personal integrity, ethics, sound judgment, professional approach to decision making, ability and willingness to serve, good interpersonal skills, having enough time at his disposal to serve your company. We have discussed all these points in previous lecture. You can go and watch those videos regarding these qualities, and these qualities are very much clear that must have ethics, sound judgment, professional approach to decision making, ability and willingness to serve, so good interpersonal skill and enough time to serve your company. So last point we are going to discuss is the situation in developing countries. There are virtually no independent non-executive director in developing countries companies. Almost all non-executive directors are representative of majority shareholder. None is ever truly independent. So there is a serious lack of independent non-executive director. We can't say that there are no independent non-executive director, but there is a lack of independent non-executive directors, specifically in developing countries where there is a concentrated ownership. So controlling shareholder cannot have one, cannot be controlled by them. So controlling shareholders cannot have one, cannot be controlled by them. So the controlling shareholder don't want to one who can't control them. So they want to independent directors, they want to independent non-executive directors, but this at the same time they want to control them. If they cannot control them, they don't want those directors in the board, because controlling shareholder believe that it's their money and so their right to run as they wish. It's their right to run the company because it's their money. So that's the problem with controlling shareholder. No remuneration to independent non-executive director. Hence, professional are not keen to serve as independent non-executive director because payment is not as much as they deserve. so they are not willing to give more time than the payment, and according to the payment that time is very short, and decision making and going through our reports and discussions is very important, very difficult with that limitations. So paying good remuneration cannot get good independent non-executive director who can be independent just so the point is being made over here. Paying good remuneration cannot get in good independent director. So basically the author would like to say that if you are paying more amount, maybe controlling shareholder are going to pay much more money to independent non-executive director, and their independence can be sacrificed. So who can be independent just as auditor and judge who are paid but retain independence. So here we would like to make the point that actually if uh, judge can be independent because they are being paid more, and auditor can be independent because they are being paid more, so an independent non-executive director can also be an independent director if even if you pay him or her more amount. So second point in the favor of the against to this point that paying good remuneration cannot get good independent non-executive director is, as independent non-executive directors are serving 4 to 6 or even to 10 companies at a time, too small reliance on one company payment or one company salary, so it's not a big issue even if you pay more to those independent non-executive director. Law treats all directors as equal. Again, a very big problem, because law treats all directors equally. If there is a problem in the company, uh, people are the parties are going to against to those all directors to the court, because they will not identify that either it's the fault of executive director or non-executive director or independent non-executive director. Although independent non-executive director have no direct link with the company, they are not participating on their day-to-day activities, they don't know all the issues what companies is facing. Whenever there will be a case, they will be equally responsible as to executive director. So it's again a problem in developing country. In West, main source of independent non-executive director is nomination from institutional investor. They nominate and then they facilitate those independent non-executive director. But in developing country, we are again having a lack of such facilitation from institutional investors. So no such pool of professionals in developing countries, and there is a lack of independent non-executive director. So that's all from this lecture. Other issues related to the directors will be discussed in next lecture. Uh, Subscribe our channel, like the page, and share with others. We will meet soon with next video related to directors. Thank you very much.